It's been a while since I've done these, but better late than never. Hello, horse racing fans, and welcome to another episode of Horse Racing Analyses. And today's episode is going to be on the one and only Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, we got a smaller field of 9 horses in it, but we still got a lot of talent and a lot to talk about. So, without further ado, let's talk about this year's Breeders' Cup Classic. So first up, in post position number 1, we have Tripoli, who is a great long shot that has a lot of potential. Now, his Awesome Again performance doesn't look very appealing, a fading 4th place finish behind Medina Spirit. However, if you go one start back, you see the Pacific Classic. And the Pacific Classic is a 1.25 mile Grade 1 race at Del Mar Racetrack. What is the Breeders' Cup Classic? A 1.25 mile Grade 1 race at Del Mar Racetrack. As well as that, he won the Pacific Classic thanks to a fast pace by Tiz Magician. With all the front-running speedsters in the Breeders' Cup Classic, we'll get that speed. So, if the race plays out like I think it will, he'll have the exact identical conditions that he had in the Pacific Classic, his biggest victory. So, he could definitely be a great lively long shot. And don't forget, 2 years ago, when the Breeders' Cup Classic was held at Del Mar Racecourse, Higher Power, the winner of the Pacific Classic, finished a good third. Sure, it was a distant third, but I still called it those 2 years. So, I'm going to call it again with this year's Pacific Classic winner, Tripoli. Mark my words. However, a long shot that I think does deserve the odds is Express Train. Express Train has had 2 wins this year, the San Pasqual and the San Diego. However, at a 1.25 miles, he's kind of struggled. In general, he's kind of struggled to get a win this year. He's come close. He lost the Santa Anita Handicap to Idol, and then was 6th in the Pacific Classic behind Tripoli. And he's had a couple other game performances like the Oaklawn Handicap and the Hollywood Gold Cup, but he seems just shy of top tier, and running in the Breeders' Cup Classic probably isn't going to help that. So, I'm going to pass on him. In post position number 3, we have Hot Rod Charlie, who is both the first 3-year-old and the first frontrunner we are going to discuss. Hot Rod Charlie has a lot of inherent advantages over the other frontrunners in this field, mainly his versatility and guts. In the Belmont Stakes, he managed incredibly fast early fractions and still held on to be second. In the Haskell Invitational, he proved that he did not need the lead in order to cross the wire first, when he let Following Sea and Midnight Bourbon set the pace. He was a good few lengths behind in third, and still came forward to cross the wire first. Of course, he knocked over a horse while he was at it, but my point still stands. He didn't need the lead to cross the wire first in the Haskell, so he won't need the lead if he wants to win the Breeders' Cup. If the pace gets too fast, he can always just drop back and wait, and he can still have a chance. But, right beside Hot Rod Charlie is the horse that has denied him both a Breeders' Cup victory and a Belmont Stakes victory, and that is Essential Quality. Besides a 4th in the Kentucky Derby, Essential Quality has been practically unblemished, most recently winning the Run Happy Travers Stakes. He's answered almost every question asked of him. The only thing that he really has to worry about is the Del Mar track, since he's an East Coast horse. But that's really picking at straws here. Besides that, Essential Quality has a huge advantage of not being a frontrunner, which means he can take advantage of the fast pace and pick up the pieces from there. But we'll see what happens when he steps on West Coast dirt. And then right beside Essential Quality is another gray-colored Brad Cox champion, Knicks Go. Now, Knicks Go might be a few people's first choice to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, but he's not mine. Knicks Go has done a few good things this year, mainly his dual Grade 1 wins at a 1.25 miles. Keyword, 1.25 miles. He has never ran at a 1.25 miles this year, or practically ever. He was a champion miler last year, and this year he's a champion 1.25 miles. Another concerning thing is the way he won these races. The main way Knicks Go wins races is by having a lead all to himself. He's just so fast early that nobody can keep up with him. But this time around, it's going to be different. He can't have the lead all to himself. He just has too many front-running horses to worry about. Hot Rod Charlie, Art Collector, and most deadly of all, Medina Spirit. He just can't have the lead all to himself. It's just not going to happen. They aren't going to give it to him. As well as that, he's going to be running the longest distance of his life. The last time that he had a serious duel for the lead was in the Saudi Cup against Charlatan, and in that race, he folded and finished 4th, which could very well happen today. And speaking of frontrunners, we have Art Collector, who, just like Knicks Go, is a frontrunner riding a 3-race winning streak, which includes a Grade 1 race in New York. However, Art Collector is not nearly as fast as Knicks Go. Knicks Go's times compared to Art Collector's are significantly faster, and I don't usually like bringing in times, but when you're a frontrunner, you need to be fast, and Art Collector's times are not very fast, so Knicks Go is going to leave him in the dust if Art Collector doesn't pick it up, and when he does pick it up, he probably won't be nearly as comfortable and might tire out earlier. As well as that, he has to deal with the Del Mar track since he's a New York horse. So, a lot of things to keep in track here, and honestly, I just don't think he's worth it. I think Knicks Go is better than Art Collector, and even Knicks Go doesn't really feel like a sure thing. And then in post position number 7, we have Stilletto Boy, who does deserve the 30-1 morning line odds, considering he's only a listed stakes winner at best. However, there's more to him than just that. In his most recent start, he was a Grade 1 placer in the Awesome Again Stakes, losing to Medina Spirit, but still beating both Express Train and Tripoli, who are running in this very race, the Breeders' Cup Classic. So, Stilletto Boy ain't necessarily nothing to scoff at, either. As well as that, Stilletto Boy is a Grade 1 placer in the West Coast, which is pretty important considering this is a West Coast Grade 1 race. So if things play out similarly to the Awesome Again Stakes, you could see this 30-1 shot stacking some money, which is great for you, the better. And the horse that beat him in that race is the quote-unquote Kentucky Derby winner, Medina Spirit. Now, I may have a negative bias towards Medina Spirit because I don't really like Bob Baffert, and I don't really like the circumstances of that Kentucky Derby victory. I think he should be disqualified in my opinion. However, if we're going to be talking about his achievements alone, Medina Spirit is quite deadly. His win on the Awesome Again is absolutely impressive. It's over 5 lengths, and it's against older horses, which proves that he can handle elder horses, as well as that his victory in the Kentucky Derby proves that he can handle strong pressure and still win at 1.25 miles, the exact distance this race is going to be. So he can handle both the distance and most definitely relishes the West Coast. So he's the perfect frontrunner to choose here, definitely having an edge over Knicks Go, who has never ran on the West Coast or at 1.25 miles. So if you want a frontrunner, I'd recommend Medina Spirit. He's certainly fast and tough enough to handle this. And last of all, we have Max Player, who is a bit iffy. He does have a lot of good elements, such as the fact that he is a closer, which is good for this kind of fast pace. The only thing is, he's never really closed off super fast paces. His last victory, the Jockey Club Gold Cup Stakes, which, frankly, is at 1.25 miles, which is definitely pretty helpful in proving that he can handle this distance, but it was slow. Like, it wasn't a fast pace. So the question is, will he be able to handle the fast opening pace of Knicks Go and Medina Spirit? That I'm not so sure about, and also the ability to handle the West Coast might be a bit iffy. So he does have the pieces, but by comparison, I think he's a sketchy choice. No pun intended. And that'll conclude this small but talented field for the Breeders' Cup Classic. For my final picks, I'm definitely going to be leaning towards the West Coast side, with Medina Spirit as a win bet, and then for place bets, Hot Rod Charlie and Tripoli. We'll see if it works, we'll see if it doesn't. Comment down what you think is going to happen in the Breeders' Cup and tell me your bets. See you guys next time.